find Bill McLaughlin lying in a pool of blood on the kitchen floor. He is dead.
Police walked in and immediately went to work. So Bill McLaughlin is on his back in the kitchen. He's got 6 gunshot wounds.
He's been shot multiple times in his own home in one of the safest neighborhoods in the country. Who would have done that? And more importantly, why?
54-year-old William Bill McLaughlin is born in Southern California in 1939.
He studies biological engineering in college. After he graduates, he gets a job selling medical supply equipment.
In 1975, Bill invents a new kind of dialysis catheter.
Bill McLaughlin was essentially an executive that got together with a partner of his in the pharmaceutical business, and they invented a way to separate plasma from blood. And this man and Bill essentially partnered up and sold this technology to a major pharmaceutical company.
It's a groundbreaking invention and one that's still in use today. When he sells it, it makes him a multimillionaire.
Bill, his wife, and his 3 kids move into a house in Newport Beach.
It's in a gated community called Balboa Coves. You know you're doing well when you can afford a house there.
Until his wife files for divorce in 1990.
Bill McLaughlin had been married for over 30 years. He had 2 daughters and a son. And, it's one of those things where the marriage just kind of sputtered out. There was no great drama.
It's never easy going through a divorce, especially when you have kids involved. But all that said, Bill seems to come through it okay. He maintains a good relationship with his kids, and he certainly keeps busy. He regularly flies his private plane to Las Vegas, where he has a vacation home.
On Thursday, December 15th, 1994, Bill flies home from Las Vegas, as he's done many times before.
Bill McLaughlin was home with his son. His son was not supposed to be home. He was supposed to be at a meeting, but he was not. He did not go to the meeting. So he was there, and they probably had something to eat. The son went upstairs to listen to some music, and Bill was downstairs at his table in the kitchen, or near the kitchen.
Bill is going over some legal documents.
Documents related to a lawsuit that he'd been involved in with his former business partner.
And that's when all of a sudden somebody came through the front door, which originally was locked, and came through and shot him 6 times while he was in his kitchen.
Kevin was upstairs listening to music, and he heard a series of gunshots downstairs. And he came downstairs, and he saw his father dying on the kitchen floor.
And he immediately dialed 911 and tried his best to communicate with his voice problems that he had to the 911 operator of the police department and tell them his dad was shot.
Your son? Where's the gun? Where's the gun, my You don't know? You think he shot himself?
Mr. McLaughlin was in the kitchen on his back. He had bullet holes in him, 6 of them. There were bullet casings from a semi-automatic handgun would eject the casing, and they were 6 of those around on the floor, and he was dead.
The rounds were determined to be a type of ammunition called Federal Hypershock, which is it's a vicious round. Essentially, it expands inside the human body.
The only other person in the house at the time of the murder is Kevin.
It's clear he's not a serious suspect, but police still have to clear him, and they do pretty quickly.
When the police got there and looked at the scene, it really did look like it was a planned murder, because the person came in, the person had keys to get in the front door, had 2 keys, one for the bolt lock and one for the regular lock, and one was still in the keyhole and the other one was down on the floor.
One that was stuck in the front door was a freshly cut Ace Hardware key, and the one on the mat was an original community access gate key.
So the suspect had keys to the place, entered, shot him immediately, and exited immediately. So it was an execution.
No forced entry, no sign of a struggle, and nothing was taken from the home. This rules out a robber gone wrong. But who would want Bill McLaughlin dead?
Investigators discover that Bill's former business partner believes that Bill owes him millions of dollars, and the two have been battling in court.
It appears that Bill is going over documents about this lawsuit when he's attacked in his kitchen.
That's a motive. Whether or not that person had anything to do with the murder is something that detectives needed to
was of interest to them. They certainly took a look at the partner.
Bill had just essentially won the lawsuit. The court came out with an indicated ruling that was going to free up about $12 million to Bill McLaughlin.
The ex-partner has a solid alibi, so was ruled out fairly quickly.
Bill was divorced at the time of this incident.
An ex-wife might be a logical suspect if the divorce is still in progress, but Bill and Susan have been divorced for years. Divorce can bring out the worst in people, especially when custody of children is an issue. But their youngest child is 26. It doesn't seem like his ex-wife would have much to gain.
Investigators are still working at the scene when a woman named Nanette Johnston shows up.
There was a point in the investigation, about probably an hour and a half into it maybe, when Nanette arrived home. She lived at that house, and she had been shopping in one of the nearby malls and arrived home to see all the police tape and all the police cars, and they interviewed her outside the house.
They don't know who she is. She has to explain to the police that she's Bill's fiancée and that she lives in the house with him. She's already figured out that there's something wrong, but she's shocked to discover that Bill is dead.
Any idea why it's here? I have no idea. I wish I had something to tell you. I wish I knew. I don't know. I can't think of anybody.
We interviewed Nanette quite in detail. She had been up at a soccer game with her son and her daughter, went to the store before coming home.
Well, what were your activities today? I picked up some stuff for my son at a soccer game in Diamond Bar. And so I went up there.
She planned to be with Bill that night. She knew that he was home that night and hadn't seen him for a few days because he had taken a trip to Las Vegas and had recently flown back and arrived that afternoon while she was at the soccer game.
They find a note from Nanette telling Bill that she's at the game and will be home later.
So she was very worried, especially when she found out that there were keys that were left at the scene that somebody knew, and I got the keys to get into the house in order to kill Bill. And she made mention that she was supposed to be home at that time. That scared her. And she said that she was afraid that maybe she was the target and she just wasn't home. So she was very concerned.
Since the investigation will be continuing all night, Nanette can't stay at the house. Luckily, Bill owns another house nearby on the beach. She tells the police that she'll stay there.
As a matter of routine, investigators try to verify Nanette's story. They talk to her ex-husband, who confirms that she is at a soccer game with her son. But then he drops a bombshell.
He told the police, she told me not to mention this, but she was there with her boyfriend. And that kind of surprised the police because they thought that she didn't have a boyfriend. They thought that she was a fiancée to the victim.
You'll find them in cities, towns, and suburbs all across America. Millions of Americans who have Medicare and Medicaid, but may be missing benefits they could really use. Extra benefits they may be eligible to receive at no extra cost. And if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be able to get extra benefits too through a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan. Call now to see if there's a plan in your area and to see if you qualify. With the Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan, you could have doctor, hospital, and prescription drug coverage in one convenient plan. Plus, most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance, your allowance to help pay for essentials like eligible groceries, utilities, and rent, even over-the-counter items like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. Your allowance is conveniently loaded onto a prepaid card each month. And whatever you don't spend gets carried over to the next month. Plus, with the Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan, you could get other important benefits. Most plans include dental coverage with $0 copays for covered preventive services, vision coverage, including eye exams, and a yearly allowance for eyeglasses or contact lenses. Even hearing benefits with routine hearing exams and coverage toward hearing aids. And you could pay nothing for covered prescriptions, even brand name ones, all year long. You'll also get $0 copays for routine vaccines at in-network retail pharmacies and $0 copays for telehealth visits. Best of all, if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible to enroll in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan right now. So call now to see if there's a plan in your area and to see if you qualify. Imagine one convenient plan with doctor, hospital, and prescription drug coverage that may include extra benefits, like the Humana Healthy Options Allowance, to help pay for eligible essentials like groceries, utilities, rent, over-the-counter items, and more. There could be no cost for covered prescriptions and coverage for routine dental, vision, even hearing, plus $0 copays for routine vaccines and telehealth visits. And you'll have access to Humana's multiple large plan networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call now to see if there's a plan in your area that could give you extra benefits, including a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible essentials. Plus, there could be no cost for covered prescriptions and coverage for routine dental, vision, even hearing. So call now and let a knowledgeable licensed Humana sales agent explain your coverage options and, if you're eligible, help you enroll over the phone. It's that easy. Call today and we'll also send this free guide. But now is the time. The annual enrollment period ends December 7th. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
If you're a Medicare beneficiary, call now to see how a WellCare Medicare Advantage plan could get you some big benefits. Find out how easy it is to get all of your original Medicare coverage plus extra benefits. A WellCare Medicare Advantage plan is designed to fit your needs so you can be your best every day. You could have medical coverage, prescription drug coverage, dental, vision, and hearing coverage. Twill, a digital mental health and social support resource. And here's more good news. You can get a WellCare Medicare Advantage plan with a $0 or low monthly plan premium. How can WellCare offer all of those benefits for a $0 or low monthly plan premium? It's simple. Medicare Advantage and Medicare Part D prescription drug coverage are important parts of Medicare. WellCare has a contract with Medicare to offer and provide these important options to you. Call right now to get your free copy of the WellCare All-in-One Guide. Call 844-975-0005 now. There is absolutely no obligation for requesting this free information. WellCare offers benefits that go beyond the basics, and we make them easy to use so you can support your best health. Call a licensed sales agent to see if you are eligible to enroll today. And call today to get your free copy of the All-in-One Guide with absolutely no obligation. Your free guide will provide information to make a smart choice for your healthcare coverage. Just call 844-975-0005. Remember, there's no obligation for requesting this free information. So call 844-975-0005. Call today.
Newport Beach, California, is home to many wealthy and prominent citizens. Balboa Coves is a gated community located just off the Coast Highway and right on the waterfront. It's where Bill McLaughlin lives until his life is unexpectedly and brutally cut short on December 15th, 1994. It's also where Bill's fiancée, Nanette Johnston, lives.
Police find out that Nanette has a secret boyfriend. While she was engaged to marry Bill, they want to find out more about this guy.
So they decided to stake out Nanette's second house, the one that's on the beach, to see if this other guy, Eric, would arrive. Eric actually arrived the day that they were watching. It was sometime at night. He did arrive at that location, and they ended up actually doing a car stop on him and talking to him. And they found out who he was.
The police asked him, what's your relationship with Nanette? And he said, well, we're friends. We're pretty good friends.
They discovered that he did have a small warrant for his arrest, a traffic warrant of some sort. And so they actually took him into custody for that warrant and then interviewed him in extent regarding this case.
Eric Napuski is an ex-football player. He played in the NFL for a few different teams and also played in Spain and in Canada. But his entire career only lasted for a few years.
I'm still in security. Security work. I'm just helping out the nightclub because they have this problem controlling things down there. The last one was shut down.
He's working as a bouncer at a bar, and this particular bar is only a block away from Bill's house.
They ask him if he ever uses guns.
Hey, you have a CCW? No. Did you do any army? No, I don't do any army. Not even uniform? No. I don't even have a sign. That takes at least 6 months.
They asked him if he owned guns. He originally said no, he didn't.
And then the interview goes on for probably another 45 minutes, and they circle back.
Okay, you said you don't own any firearms at all? No, I bought one. I haven't seen it, so I bought one in Dallas that I gave my dad as a 380.
So first it's no guns, and then it's one.
Eventually, though, they came to a point where he did admit that he had a Beretta 92F 9mm gun, but he had given it some time ago to one of his employees at a scene, and that guy had lost it. So that was like months ago.
He keeps changing his story. One minute he's no guns at all, and now he's, well, I did have a 380, but I gave it to my dad, and I gave a Beretta 9mm to my employee. Now I don't have either of them.
When the police officers actually contacted the employee that supposedly had the Beretta, he said, no, I was never given a Beretta.
It was a piece of crap Jennings 380, and Eric never paid me for the job. So I told Eric that the gun got stolen out of my car.
And he eventually was able to get that 380 semi-automatic gun and give it to the police. So it was not the Beretta.
He says his dad has the 380, but his employee has it? Or are there two 380s? Where's the Beretta he says he owns? And why does he claim it's missing?
When this was going down, they were doing the ballistic testing on the bullets at the crime scene, and they discovered that the bullets that were there had been fired by one of 27 guns. One of those 27 guns was a Beretta 92F. So when they heard about this Beretta being possibly belonging to Eric, they definitely were interested in finding out where that gun was. Since Eric told them he gave it to this employee, and that wasn't true, they then questioned Eric a lot about where that gun was.
During his second interview with police, Eric is more defensive.
Where is your 900? I have no idea. You have no idea. That's my statement. I don't want to what you talk about that anymore. The last time you saw it? I don't want to talk about it anymore. This is the thing. No matter what happened to any guns, anytime, anywhere, I didn't do anything wrong with anything. Okay? That's my statement.
One of the things that's interesting about Aposky is he's incredibly forceful as he tells his story and convincing.
And that's a pretty good friend of mine. Describes a dating relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm saying dating relationship.
And it starts out, she's a girl I know, to basically the end of the interview, they learn that they're dating.
Then he admits to maybe a little more.
Girlfriend can mean a lot of things. I mean, do you think this is headed towards a serious relationship, marriage? I hope it is. I hope it is, yeah.
By the end of the first interview, he admits that he hoped to marry her.
While looking into Bill's financial affairs, investigators discovered some missing money.
They got into the finances, and they started to discover that there was money missing from some of his accounts, and they discovered that Nanette was taking small bits of money about a year earlier. Throughout the whole year of 1994, as it came closer and closer to December, more and more money was being taken out of Bill's accounts and disappearing. As a matter of fact, the day before he was murdered, Nanette got a check from him for $250,000 with a signature that was determined not to be Bill's, even though it looked similar to it.
It comes out in the investigation that Nanette and Eric frequently traveled together.
In the weeks leading up to Bill McLaughlin's murder, Nanette's sister got married on the East Coast, and she did not bring Bill McLaughlin as her date. She brought Eric Aposky as her date.
This doesn't seem to mesh with her plans to marry Bill.
Does one of them decide that they need to get Bill out of the way?
Well, they had suspicions, absolutely. And they brought those suspicions, but they just did not have enough to get over that hump to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. They needed more than what they had at that time.
But they do have enough to charge Nanette with grand theft for stealing close to $500,000 from Bill. She pleads guilty and goes to jail for less than a year. And Bill McLaughlin Manhattan's murder case goes stone cold.
Whether you're a professional driver or just a fan, vehicle breakdowns are costly.
It started tugging.
It started making some really weird noises.
I kept hearing ding, ding, ding.
The last thing I remember is just the engine cut out.
If your check engine light comes on tomorrow, the repair could easily cost thousands.
Is that transmission?
It's an exhaust leak.
Broken axle. Catastrophic failure.
But with Endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a costly repair again.
They covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
I had a seat sensor that went out, $1,400. Endurance paid it.
We got a brand new transmission, and we never seen the repair bill.
Use any certified mechanic you want. Just bring your car in, and Endurance will pay them direct. All major parts are covered. And if you need a rental car, that's covered too.
When that warranty ends, that's when Endurance should begin.
Endurance knows what drivers want, and that starts with the freedom to pick the mechanic you trust.
Choosing my own mechanic for the repairs of my car is a big thing.
Mechanics and repair shops love working with Endurance because they know we'll pay them to do the job that needs to be done.
Because there's no middleman.
We just call Endurance direct.
Engine, timing belt, water pump, fuel pump, alternator, drive axle, transmission, anti-lock brakes, AC compressor, backup camera, safety sensors, control arms, ball joints, and much, much more. If it can break, with Endurance, you're covered. Call right now to get $300 off any plan. That's right, if you call right now, you can get $300 off any plan. This is a limited time offer, so call now. Call 1-833-496-5441 for a free quote. That's 1-833-496-5441.
For Sean and Latress, choosing an auto protection plan wasn't an easy decision.
He researches everything. He Googles the company. He looks to see how long they've been in business. He definitely reads the reviews.
From the first call he made to Endurance, Sean felt something different.
They were polite, direct, they answered all my questions. I decided to go with it.
Soon after the switch, Sean put Endurance to the test.
When we took a car to the dealership to have our brakes looked at, we just thought just replace the pads or the rotors. But once they actually pulled everything out, they noticed that it was something more extensive than just the brakes. Roughly $1,200. Endurance came right back. No problem. Don't worry about it. We'll work it out with the dealership. We'll get you covered. Endurance did what they said they were going to do.
You don't want to have to be concerned about a car repair. You want to be able to take your car in and get the work done that needs to be done without having to think about how you're going to cover it. It's a great value to us.
Here's why not having Endurance could be a financial burden on your life. We all know a car's value decreases the second it gets driven off the lot. But with Endurance, you can keep your car in tip-top shape, helping maintain an overall higher value for your vehicle. With Endurance, your car repair costs go way down, while your car's life expectancy goes way up, allowing you to drive more and pay less. How much longer would you drive your car if you knew you'd never see a bill for covered repairs again? With Endurance, you get the feeling of new car confidence without the new car payment.
You just take it in and get it fixed and it's covered. Cha-ching.
And unlike other companies, you can't outdrive Endurance. Whether you put 10,000 or 100,000 miles a year on your car, if it's less than 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. And that's not the only difference. When you buy Endurance, you get Endurance, not some third-party administrator.
Endurance is the direct administrator of their plans. That means no middleman and no runaround. They're with you from quote to claim with VIP customer service that gets you back on the road fast.
Your plan covers 24/7 roadside assistance. If you break down, Endurance has your back anywhere in the country. Just look at what thousands of real drivers are saying about Endurance on Google, Trustpilot, and other top review sites.
With Endurance, you've got coverage that can keep thousands in your pocket.
One claim alone saved me more than $4,000.
I've had 5 claims, and that is $3,500 that I've kept in my pocket.
We've saved over $2,000, and that's just so far. Endurance saved me more than $7,000.
So, who's going to pay for your next car repair? You or Endurance?
Call right now to get $300 off any plan, plus a full year of our top-tier elite benefits, a $2,000 value free. And all Endurance plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. But you have to act now. Call 1-833-496-5441 for a free quote. That's 1-833-496-5441.
It's time to make your car an endurance car.
Coming up next on True Crime Network.
Bill McLaughlin is murdered in his own kitchen. Police suspect his fiancée, Nanette, and her boyfriend, Eric, but can't prove it. Nanette is convicted of stealing some of Bill's money and spends a year in prison. The murder case goes cold.
My name's Larry Montgomery. I've been a police detective at the Irvine Police Department for most of my 29 years that I was at Irvine PD. And then I retired and went to the Orange County District Attorney's Office and was an investigator for them for about 14 years. And during that time, I was allowed to go into a cold case unit.
It's 2008, 14 years since Bill McLaughlin's murder, and Larry Montgomery is assigned to the case.
It was a brand new unit for me to be in, and I was kind of like, well, what do I do with a cold case? What do I do to make difference that the other detectives hadn't done, maybe? One of my advantages was I had time. I didn't have a caseload. I could take this case and do whatever I wanted and take as long as I wanted.
When a case has gone unsolved for 14 years, another year or two can make all the difference. Better to take it slow and get it right.
So what I did is I had, in that particular case, I think there was 63 tape-recorded interviews on cassette tapes. That's a lot of interviews. It was hours and hours and hours, and hundreds of hours, basically. So I sat down and I started going through the tapes and taking copious notes on everything on all those tapes.
Working a cold case is a lot like being an investigative journalist. You look for things that don't make sense, that don't add up, that raise a few questions, and then you dig deeper. Nanette's behavior on the night of the murder is one of those things.
So you look at what she said when she's at home, when she comes home that day. She's mortified that her fiance has been murdered. She knows that the killer brought keys, had keys to this house. How did the killer get keys to this house? And then at the end, she goes, I'm not going to stay here. Don't worry. I'm not, I know you have a day's worth of work to do here, but I'll go to our other place.
The locks had not been changed on the beach house. She knows there's a killer on the loose with a key to one of the houses. Why wouldn't the killer have keys to both houses?
Why would you even risk going there? Why would you even consider going there?
She's brought her children to a place where a killer might show up, and she didn't even draw the curtains.
And here's Nanette with a Christmas tree and her two little kids putting stuff on the Christmas tree. Okay, how scared is Nanette of the killer? She's in a place blocks from where the murder was. Who knows how the murderer got keys to that house? Does he have keys to this house? Was she the target? She said, I could have been the target. I've pissed off people in my life. So is she really afraid that she's the target? She's right there in the full view of anybody on the beach. Matter of fact, there's a man with a gun right outside. It's a police officer, and she doesn't know that he's even out there.
They're police officers, they're detectives. They know how to operate a firearm. Standing on the sand outside the beach house, and she didn't even draw the curtains and didn't know they were there, which means her head is not on a swivel. She's not looking around for who this might be.
Did she change the locks? She didn't do that. She didn't have security. She didn't have even Naposki move in with her to protect her from the killer. She goes to this place and doesn't have a care in the world. She's not looking out the window that the guy's going to get her. So that shows that she's not afraid of the killer. Otherwise, she wouldn't be there.
Investigators get the sense that Nanette first became interested in Bill because of his money.
What we discovered while investigating the case, Nanette had put an ad in back then it was a picture, like magazine, newspaper type material, and it had her in a negligee, kind of kneeling down on a bed.
So it's a boudoir photo of her in negligee saying, I know how to take care of my man if he knows how to take care of me. And it's entitled Wealthy Men Only.
And it appears that was the ad that attracted Bill's attention.
Nanette also stands to inherit money because of Bill's death. In addition to the money she's convicted of stealing, there's a bequest in the will and a life insurance policy.
Regardless of guilt or innocence, Eric and Nanette do not get married and live happily ever after.
His talk of love seems authentic, and his intentions to marry her are clear. He even writes a note in his book on January 1st, 1994 with the word propose spelled wrong, but we know what he means.
And she actually went and found another millionaire and married that guy. Kind of dumped Eric, even though they were together for a while, but I don't think she really wanted Eric around. And so they did separate, and they went their separate ways.
They embarked on this very lavish lifestyle. Now, the thing about Nanette, she's all about money, right? So Eric Naposki had fulfilled his usefulness. They broke up because she has no real interest in some broke, washed-up football player. Eric, after the murder at some point, I think he went up to the Canadian Football League for a little while. He wound up in Spain playing for the Barcelona Dragons, had a great season, but it's kind of like being the home run king of the minor league team. He didn't make any real money.
He meets a woman there, and they have a couple of kids. Back in the U.S., he does some coaching at the University of New Haven, goes back into security work, and then opens his own gym. Nanette not only finds herself another wealthy businessman to marry, she does it twice.
She winds up getting married to a guy named Packard, who, my understanding is, made a bunch of money in real estate. And then they got divorced and then went up remarrying to a guy named Billy McNeil. So she went off and lived this very lavish, sort of quintessential Newport Beach housewife, Orange County. I mean, we've all seen the show, right?
And she has another kid with each of them.
It's now 15 years after the murder of Bill McLaughlin, and Larry gets his first big break when he stumbles onto something interesting at the end of one of the 63 tapes made all those years ago.
Larry Montgomery, he's incredible. He went through all the old tip logs of people who called in, and he listened to the end of every tape.
And it was a woman who was saying, we were watching the news and we saw that Nanette Johnston ripped off this guy and was sent to jail. We just wanted you guys to know that my husband had dealings with Nanette. She came over to our house one day and was interested in maybe investing in my husband's company, and was willing to invest maybe $200,000 or maybe $100,000 in the company, but she wouldn't have the money till after the first of the year.
Where does Nanette think that money is coming from? She's got no job. She's got no stocks. She has no sort of financial portfolio. The only way Nanette winds up flush with cash after the first of the year is if Bill McLaughlin dies.
The woman wants to remain anonymous, and the call is abruptly cut off. No one tries to follow up at the time.
I heard with really good earphones, I could hear her in the background say, "Robert, they want to talk to you."
It's not much to go on, but if Larry can find this Robert, it just might be the key to finding out what really happened to Bill McLaughlin 15 years ago.
Hi, my name is Damian Clark. If you have both Medicare and Medicaid, I have some really encouraging news that you'll definitely want to hear. Depending on the plans available in your area, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with the Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance, a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items, like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. The Healthy Options Allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. You can pay nothing for covered prescriptions all year long, even name brand drugs. All plans have $0 copays for covered preventive dental services, which include 2 free cleanings a year, as well as fillings. They may also have vision coverage, including vision exams, and a yearly allowance towards eyewear, such as lenses or contacts. Even hearing coverage, which includes routine hearing exams and coverage towards hearing aids. You'll even have a $0 copay for routine vaccines and telehealth visits. Plus, your doctor, hospital, and pharmacy may already be part of our large Humana networks. So call the number on your screen now to speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. If you're eligible, they can even help enroll you over the phone in a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. When you choose Humana, you'll find the benefits and support that our members have asked for, like a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. Prescriptions where you could pay nothing. You could get $0 copays for covered preventive dental services, vision, even hearing coverage. And our large networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. So call the number on your screen now to speak with a licensed Humana sales agent to see if you qualify to enroll in a plan with extra benefits. Wouldn't you love benefits like a monthly allowance? To help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. Covered prescriptions where you can pay nothing all year long, even for the name brand ones. Just think of what benefits like these can do for your health and your life. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call the number on your screen now and speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. If you're eligible, they can even help enroll you over the phone in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan. And remember, annual enrollment ends on December 7th. So call now. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
They were gunned down.
This is a Stone Cold Killer.
Now, determined detectives will have to trace the ballistics to track down their shooter.
We are all hands on deck.
Targeted for murder. Next on True Crime Network. In 2008, cold case investigator Larry Montgomery begins looking into the 1994 murder of Bill McLaughlin. He discovers that an anonymous woman phones police with a tip about Nanette having suspicious dealings with her husband, a man named Robert.
So all of a sudden, it's like, this is interesting. Okay, I would love to know who this guy is, but all we had was the type of company he had, which was Biomedics, I think, and he lived in Irvine, and his name was Robert. That's really all we had. Oh, he went to the gym with her. We know what gym she went to. So we went to the gym to see if we could find anybody with the name Robert in there. We found some Roberts, but we didn't find any that matched him.
A thorough search in Irvine fails to yield any Roberts with a business license for a biomedical company.
There are these books that they have that are called crisscross directories.
In a crisscross directory, phone numbers are listed by numerical order rather than by name.
You could look up a number and then find who belonged to that number, instead of looking up a name and finding the phone number. So it was a reverse book. So I went there to look and see what numbers the network was calling and who she was calling. And there were two numbers that I could not find in those books. I almost left, and then I started realizing, well, this was December, so maybe I should be looking at 95, because maybe it's a new phone number in 94 somewhere. So I went back inside, went back and got 95 book, looked for those two numbers, and lo and behold, one of those numbers popped up, and it belonged to Robert. We located that person and found out that he was in fact the right person. This is years and years later, and at that point he was willing to talk with us, and he laid it all out to us. So he's now a new witness, and so that was one of our needed pieces of evidence so that we could file charges.
Larry locates another witness from the past.
During the initial investigation, a woman calls police and offers some information about Eric, but because she insists on remaining anonymous, they disregard what she has to say.
So that was a person that I re-looked for years later, and I was able to find her and go talk with her, and she was able to open up to me and then agreeable to talk with us about everything that she knew back then in great detail.
In 1994, Eric lives in an apartment complex, and he has a friend there named Susan. They used to talk to each other while they were lying next to the pool.
But he was talking to her about his girlfriend, who he wanted to marry, and how his girlfriend was having a problem. She lived with a rich man that was abusing her, sexually assaulting her. And he was very angry about this fact that his girlfriend was being sexually assaulted by this rich guy from Newport.
Interestingly enough, he tells Susan that he wants to blow up the rich guy's plane, but she doesn't think much of it. She thinks it's just an angry guy talking. That is until January, when she bumps into Eric and he tells her that the guy is dead.
And she goes, "Oh my God, Eric, please tell me you didn't do that." And he kind of chuckled and said, "Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, maybe I paid somebody to do it."
She checks the newspapers, and the story about Bill's murder is everywhere.
And she did call the police anonymously at first and just said, "I wanted to tell you this information," but she was afraid that she would get killed by Naposki. So she gave them some information, but it wasn't enough for them to go do anything with, because she wasn't identifying herself totally.
You can't blame her for being afraid.
So that was another witness that we had that we were now able to get more information from, new information that helped us put the case together.
So we've got these just gems of evidence that we were able to develop in the 2 years that we worked the case up that really, I think, made it overwhelming.
Ballistics takes another look at the bullets that killed Bill.
In this case, back in 1994, the lab said that the bullets that killed Bill McLaughlin were shot by one of 27 guns. Ballistics had changed over the years, and they were able to determine that it's actually one of 2 guns could have shot these bullets, not one of 27. And lo and behold, one of those guns was a Beretta 92F.
So given the interviews, that was hugely significant because we know Eric Naposki not only had a Beretta 92F, but he lied to the police multiple times about what happened to it. So that was big.
March of 2009 is when we finally got enough put together that we could arrest them. And so what we chose to do was we thought that Nanette is the brains of this outfit. She had orchestrated it. She got Eric to kill for her. That's what we believe happened. And Eric was kind of duped into it. He thought he was going to marry Nanette, and Nanette did not marry him. Once he did his job and killed, she basically tried to get rid of him. And so we were monitoring her. And what we wanted to do was get Eric into custody.
We wanted to give Eric Naposki a chance to sign on with the good guys. We actually set up 2 teams, and the plan was one team would go and arrest Naposki in Connecticut, take him to a police department, and put in what's called a cold call to Nanette Johnson and see if he'd be willing to help the police nail her down and get her to make some sort of admission.
He was not interested in that at all. He said he didn't do it, she didn't do it, this is all bull. And so he would not participate in that whatsoever. So we were disappointed in that because we thought that would be a good way to get Nanette.
If Eric won't come clean and testify against Nanette, do investigators have enough to convict either of them?
Whether you're a professional driver or just a fan, vehicle breakdowns are costly.
It started tugging.
It started making some really weird noises. The last thing I remember is just the engine cut out.
If your check engine light comes on tomorrow, the repair could easily cost thousands.
Is that transmission?
It's an exhaust leak.
Broken axle.
But with Endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a costly repair again.
They covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
I had a seat sensor that went out, $1,400. Endurance paid it.
Got a brand new transmission, and we never seen the repair bill.
Use any certified mechanic you want. Just bring your car in, and Endurance will pay them direct. All major parts are covered.
What I like about Endurance, they don't play games, there's no middleman. They're a solid company.
If I didn't have Endurance, I would have paid over $7,000 out of pocket to repair my vehicle.
Something is going to break down. Make Endurance pay for it.
With Endurance, your car repair costs go way down, while your car's life expectancy goes way up, allowing you to drive more and pay less.
One claim alone saved me more than $4,000.
I've had 5 claims, and that is $3,500 that I've kept in my pocket.
So, who's going to pay for your next car repair? You or Endurance?
Whether you put 10,000 or 100,000 miles a year on your car, if it's less than 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan covers 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country. Call right now to get $300 off any plan, plus a full year of our top-tier elite benefits, a $2,000 value free. And all Endurance plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, but you have to act now.
Call 1-833-496-5765 for a free quote. That's 1-833-496-5765.
At Consumer Cellular, we pride ourselves on getting you the exact same nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. But don't worry, we've got a lot more than that going for us. Woo!
Like this beautiful store in Arizona, for example. It's the perfect place for me to tell you a little bit more about our phones and how they can become your phones. You name it, we probably got it. We have the top smartphones from all the major companies. If it's state-of-the-art cameras you want with space-age metal housing, we got them. If you want a smartphone with lots of bells and whistles but won't break the bank, we've got that too. We even have flip phones like the Iris Flip. If you're someone that doesn't need all that mumbo-jumbo and just wants something simple. And now, we even have watches.
We do.
No matter what device you choose, you'll be happy to know that if your data needs change,
No problem.
with our Smart Flex feature, you don't have to sweat it. Like say you're on a road trip out west and end up using a bunch of data. We can simply flex you up to the next data tier for as little as $5. Then, when you get home, you can flex right back down with no penalty, so you only pay for what you actually need.
With Consumer Cellular, you get the exact same nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost.
I know what you're thinking. What if I don't have one of these amazing stores in my town yet? Can I get these phones sent to me?
Yes, you can.
Will our award-winning customer service help me switch over or add a line for $15 to make my own family plan?
Of course they will.
Is it easy?
Easy as pie.
You see that tower out there? It's a beauty. And there are thousands more like it, working hard for me and you, supplying 5G coverage to this beautiful nation of ours. We know how important coverage is. That's why we offer a risk-free guarantee. If you're not satisfied within 30 days of activation, you can pay nothing. Oh, look.
New customers save $50 when you sign up today. Call 800-311-5340. Find us in Target or visit consumercellular.com to switch today.
She knows what she's talking about. Pick up the phone.
I was drowning in debt.
I didn't even know how I was going to buy food for my kids.
I had over $36,000 in debt. If I would have just made the minimum payments, it would have taken me 59 years to pay off. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get out of debt myself.
I picked up the phone and called National Debt Relief. They were my savior.
Whether it's credit card, medical, or personal loan debt, National Debt Relief negotiates with your creditors to reduce the amount you owe.
National Debt Relief was able to reduce my debt by over $21,000.
From the minute I made the call to National Debt Relief, I felt immediate relief. They had a plan for me.
They treated me like a real person, not a number.
It really was a team working with me.
National Debt Relief negotiated with all of my creditors and reduced the amount that I owe. And I'm now debt-free.
If you owe more than $10,000, call or visit nationaldebtrelief.com to find out how you can become debt-free.
Cold case investigators amass enough new evidence to arrest Eric Naposki for the murder of Bill McLaughlin. They're hoping to turn Eric on his suspected accomplice, Nanette, and get his help to incriminate her. He refuses.
Even though they mostly have circumstantial evidence, they go ahead and arrest Nanette anyway. They're still hoping that Eric will come to his senses and testify against her.
On June 19, 2011, Eric goes on trial for the murder of Bill McLaughlin.
By putting him on trial first, they're hoping to wear him down and show him how much trouble he's in. They want him to cut